What's up, AP Micro B-Day? Today we're going to be jumping into price ceilings. So, there are two types of price ceilings, binding and non-binding. And a binding price ceiling creates a shortage. And that's what price ceilings are designed. So, if you're living in a complex, the owner of the complex, they can't charge you too much if you're renting the complex. So price ceilings are designed to protect you, but do they actually do that? Not really. So let's go over that, shall we? Okay, first we're going to talk about a non-binding price ceiling and what it does to consumer surplus and all that stuff. So a non-binding price ceiling is above the equilibrium line, which is opposite to a price floor, and that makes sense because the ceiling needs to be above equilibrium and the floor needs to be below equilibrium. So it is above the equilibrium. So what happens when the price ceiling? They can't sell more than this. What happens when that happens? Or they can't sell their product for more than this. So what happens if that happens? So as you can see, absolutely nothing. Nothing will happen. Producer surplus is going to be the most it can be, and consumer surplus is going to be the most it can be, because they're both going to be at equilibrium. If the price ceiling is above equilibrium, everything is going to work out well. It's non-binding. It is literally affecting nothing inside of the market. The equilibrium price and quantity are right where they need to be. So what happens when you have a binding price ceiling? When you have a binding price ceiling, it is below the equilibrium line. The price ceiling is below the equilibrium line, as you can see. So what this means is the quantity demanded is greater than the quantity supplied by a lot. And that makes sense, because suppliers aren't going to produce something if they're not, not even if they cannot, the price ceiling set by the government is not letting them sell it for more than this, which means that there's going to be a massive drop in producer surplus. As you can see, because it used to be here, and now it is going to this smaller triangle. And look at what's happening to consumer surplus. Instead of this triangle right here, it is becoming this huge triangle, all consumer surplus. But that doesn't show you deadweight loss. There's deadweight loss when there is a binding pricing. And that deadweight loss is, all of right here. The deadweight loss is all right here, because that is where the quantity supplied ends, which means none of these people are getting anything. That's how big the shortage is. They had all that market, and now they've lost all this market. This market is dead. No more. Nada. And that's what happens when you mess with the equilibrium. So why is this bad? Let me explain to you why this is bad. So people who have an apartment, this is great. I mean, the rent is going to go down and they can never charge you more for that. But that gives the renter, the people who are lending you the building, they have no incentive to keep it nice. And there's going to be a ton of people, as you can see from quantity demanded, looking for a home. So a price ceiling creates a shortage, and it often leads to lack of upkeep, because there's no incentive to keep your building good. There's no real competition at that point. So that is a binding price ceiling, and that is a non-binding price ceiling. And that is how they produce producer and consumer surplus. That's AP Microeconomics. And I'm going to demonstrate an in-person example right now. Assistant, you need it again. Alright, this time C is going to be equilibrium, and I'm going to be the price ceiling. So when the price ceiling is above equilibrium, everything's good. My girlfriend's shorter, which means she's going to date me, right? So what happens when the price ceiling is below equilibrium? When it's below equilibrium, everything's bad. There's going to be shortage. All that stuff is going to happen. So it's binding when I'm below the equilibrium, when the price ceiling is below. But when I'm above, it's a non-binding and nothing's happening. The market is staying the same. And that's how you do that.